These three books completely changed my career as a software engineer for the better. Now, I'm not necessarily an avid reader. I typically listen to Audible. So when I'm usually doing workouts or when I'm on commuting on the GO train or something, I put on my earbuds and I listen to ebooks, podcasts, even music sometimes. But I've noticed that these three books specifically, and I've been listening to them over and over again. It's not just like I've read or listened to this book once. I've read the same book 3 times, and I read them at different stages of my life, different jobs, different age, different timelines completely. And each time I read it, I get a different perspective. So I want to share the 3 books that I read and what the most important lesson I learned from each book, and then how I use that within my career, my life, friendships, family, relationships, and how it has had a positive impact overall. Yeah, sorry about not posting consistently as well. I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I know I said I would start posting consistently, but that's something I struggle with. Maybe some of these books will help me in that situation. But anyways, let's get into it. Looking at my notes. So the first book is Never Split the Difference. So Never Split the Difference is a book about negotiation. It's by a hostage negotiator. He's a very decorated hostage negotiator. I forgot what his name was. Let me look up his name. I also want to give them a shout out for writing the book. His name is Chris Voss. Yeah, that's what his name was. So Chris was a hostage negotiator. He negotiated with actual terrorists, right? He didn't just negotiate with your average Joe. He negotiated with real criminals. He negotiated with actual situations where it could be a life or death outcome. And there's a lot within those situations that he learned from that people could use on a general basis. So whether you're talking to your friends or your family or your boss or your spouse, you could use some of those learnings. And the reason is because this is universal. Everyone at the end of the day is human. Whether you're a criminal terrorist organization or you're a boss at some tech top 500 companies in the world, you're still a human at the end of the day. You still are held to those human values. You still have those human morals. You still have those human emotions and reactions. And then even go to it at a deeper level, and it's all chemistry. It's just all in your brain chemistry. So there are ways to go about and navigate these situations with humans, regardless of the type of role, the type of status they have. So what I learned from Never Split the Difference is how to drive a conversation and persuade the other person to come to your conclusion. So a lot of times what people will do is they will want to assert their own opinion onto someone else. They want to get the other person to agree with what they are saying. That is how they approach negotiation. That is how you might approach negotiation. That is exactly how I used to approach negotiation, right? If I wanted a raise, I would immediately just say, I want a raise, I want this much money. And usually those types of negotiations don't end up well, because in that situation, the answer is yes or no. And yes or no type questions are the worst, to be honest, at least in later stages of negotiation. Now in the book, there are certain yes or no questions that the book describes as being valuable, but that isn't one of them. So what you should do in those situations is you should get the other person to come to your conclusion, and you navigate the conversation for them to come to that conclusion. Make it seem like it's their idea. Obviously it's your idea. But once you've navigated that conversation to the end goal, then even if the answer is no, oftentimes they'll be willing to fight for you. So let's say you're getting your performance review done and you've done a great job throughout your last 6 months and you feel that you deserve a raise. Instead of just directly asking for a raise, you can ask the other person, hey, what do you think of my performance? Do you think it's lacking in some areas? Do you think I did great in some areas? And the other person might then start listing out points where you did well. They might start providing feedback. And then you respond to that by saying, oh yeah, I've been also looking into improving those sides of things. And I'm really glad that you've highlighted that these key areas that I'm good at. I was wondering like what is a typical salary a person within my position makes. I've been doing some research. Do you have any insight? And that other person might then provide their own insight. Yeah, this person makes X, Y, and Z. Unfortunately, you're not there yet. So let me figure out how I can get you there. Let me talk to my boss, or let's figure out a performance improvement plan to get you to that goal that we want to set for you. The idea was in your head. You wanted to get your performance highlights and reveal them in that conversation. And they brought it up that these are the things you're good at. These are the things you're not good at. And then the second part is you wanted to get to that market salary. You wanted to get to what people in your position and at your skill level typically get paid. And the other person then slowly gears the conversation towards what you want. And in their head, it's their idea. In your head, it's your idea. But it doesn't matter whose idea it is. As long as both parties are willing to help each other and work towards it, that's the end goal here. So that is a key thing that I learned from that book and negotiation in general. And that applies to anything in the world. You want, I don't know, you want your spouse to treat you to a nice dinner for Valentine's Day. Instead of just asking them for it, just say, hey, what do people typically do for Valentine's? I'm not sure. And then the other person would be like, oh yeah, they go for dinner. Yeah, maybe we should go for dinner. You want to go here? The answer could be yes or no, but then the idea is that the other person will feel inclined to do it more because it's coming from within them. So that's the first book. The second book is, sorry, looking at my notes again. How to influence friends and win people. Let me look up the author for this one too. I should have probably better prepared for this. You're getting their direct raw footage. I'm not even gonna edit this out. Okay, so who wrote this? I should also probably remember these guys' names if I'm reading the book 3 times. It's by Dale Carnegie. So this book is specifically about how to be a more likable person, how to have a personality where people want to be around you, people want to come and talk to you, and people are generally happier around you. So the premise of the book is to improve your social skills, connect with people at a deeper level, and positively influence them. What I learned from this book specifically is that people respond well to positive reinforcement, and being critical almost never works out in your favor. So a lot of people's management styles, feedback styles, and then just in general is to be overly critical about details, overly critical about every conversation. And even if you win those conversations, let's say you get into a debate, right? And you're overly critical and you're really trying to force a win out of that conversation. Even if you win, it's a loss. Now let me explain why. If you lose, because you just lost a debate. If you win, but you resorted to overpowering the other person, proving them wrong, you won the conversation, but now that person doesn't like you. And maybe other people observing that situation, they also might have some bad notions about you. They might think, oh, that guy's a bit aggressive, that guy's too loud, blah, 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 that guy's too critical. You won the conversation, but you still lost in the grand scheme of things. And I've struggled with this my whole life. I've always been a very debating, very direct person. And I used to think it was a good thing. I used to think, oh man, yeah, I'm transparent. I'm very like direct. Yeah, people must love that. And people do love transparency. People do love someone who's down to earth. But people do not love someone who's critical. People do not love someone who provides very critical and negative feedback in such a way that you're trying to prove the other person wrong and then making yourself look better, or proving the other person wrong and trying to prove you're right. Even if you're right in that situation, it's often better to it's often better not to say anything. There was a situation in the book where they went to this conference and the person was quoting something from the Bible, and Dale Carnegie obviously knew that, they were quoting something from the Bible. Dale Carnegie knew that quote was from Shakespeare, not the Bible. He raised his hand up in the conference, confronted the guy, and his friend then kicked him under the table and then said, no, my friend is wrong. I'm pretty sure that is from the Bible. Then they go home and Dale Carnegie then confronts his friend saying, you knew that was from Shakespeare. Why would you stop me from correcting that guy? And then his friends, what do you think would have been the outcome? You proved him wrong. He looks bad in front of people. You think he's going to like you after that? You think he's going to be open to having a conversation and expanding your network after that? No, the answer is no. The dude's just going to hate you. The dude's going to think you're the asshole that proved him wrong in front of so many people, even though you were right. So the best outcome in that situation is you just zipping your mouth, not saying anything. And if in fact agree with him, yeah, that is from the Bible, and then later correct him on the one-on-one conversation. Even then, don't directly confront him. Just, yeah, I think I've heard that in Shakespeare somewhere. Never be direct. Like, that's misleading, okay? Like, it's very, a lot of people take what I say literally, and then they'll apply it to like different areas of their life. What I'm talking about in this situation, when you're conversing with someone, not to be direct, but in other situations, being direct is the best way to go. So again, please consider the situation you're in and use these tools and strategies that I say, or even you learn from other people, accordingly. Don't just apply to the same thing to everything. It'll never work out that way. Cool. So that's the second book. The third book is Atomic Habits, and I've read this book really early in my life, and I'm starting to reread this book now, and I'm immediately seeing some of the things I've applied in my life since the last time I read it, and I'm also discovering new things within the book that I missed. And this is why the power of reading the same book multiple times over and over again is so important. And I will also relate to how this helped my software engineering career after I've discussed this. So this book talks about how to incrementally improve your habits over time. The main thing that I learned from this book was that you should stop setting goals. I know that sounds very dumb, but hear me out. Instead, change your identity to what you want to become. Now, let's use in the book, he uses a Olympic athlete. Every Olympic athlete's goal is to win a gold medal. That is probably the worst goal to have because it's everyone's goal. Instead, why don't you change your identity to be like the best cyclist or the best sprinter? That should be your goal. I am the fastest person in the world. I am the best at X, Y, and Z. I am an expert at running. I'm an expert at swimming. Change it to that and change your identity. And then start making shifts in your life based on your identity, right? A lot of people will set their goal to win the gold medal and they will train very hard before the Olympics starts. Once the Olympic concludes and it's done, what do? They go to their vacation trips, they start chilling and relaxing, and that's fine. But someone who identifies as the top athlete in the world, Ronaldo, for example, these guys are constantly training year in, year out, regardless of if there's a tournament going on, regardless of if they have anything going on. They're always training. They might take those one-off vacations, but as soon as they're back from vacation, they're training again. They don't wait for a big event to get back into that groove of things. And they make small and incremental changes in their life to get closer to their identity. For example, I could claim I'm trying to become a YouTuber. My goal is to have 100,000 subscribers. Instead, why don't I just say I'm a YouTuber? I'm a YouTuber and I'm making YouTube videos. I make YouTube videos. I'm trying to constantly improve myself and becoming a better and better YouTuber. That's it. I have no goals in mind. I have nothing in mind. I'm just going to continue making videos and I'm going to identify as a YouTuber. And whatever happens, that mindset will actually lead you much further than your goals, than setting those and trying to achieve those goals itself. And then the other thing is, when you set goals, the motivation is very finite and it comes in bursts, versus when you just identify as a YouTuber and you're just doing your daily task. You don't need motivation to do that, A. And B, you're not even thinking about, oh yeah, I can't wait till I have 100,000 subscribers and have all of this audience, comments, likes, and blah, blah, blah. Instead, you're just doing your job from the day-to-day basis. Just think about it. When you go to your job in the morning, do you say, oh, I'm gonna try to hit certain performance goals, or is you just do it because it's your job? And if you just do it because it's your job, you tend to be much better at it, versus if you just do it to hit like certain targets, then you're like all of a sudden now you feel stressed. Oh, I gotta meet these deadlines, I'm gonna look bad, blah, blah, blah. But instead, if you put that focus in, yeah, this is my job, I'm really good at it, I can probably hit those deadlines. That's not my concern, because those deadlines in my performance, that's not my goal here. My goal is I'm a software engineer and that's what I'm gonna do. So these three things, every single skill within these things you can apply to software engineering, and you can apply to pretty much any job in the world. The idea is, A, you're going to be better at negotiating. You can negotiate salaries, you can negotiate projects, you can negotiate feature work, you can negotiate with your stakeholders, you can negotiate with people under you if you're managing them. So negotiation skills is just a must-have at the bare minimum. Influence and win friends and people in general, that is very important, because the way you get promoted and the way you achieve bigger and better results in any job in the world is not by your technical output. A lot of people are really good at technical output, but it's who you know. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, and it's about how people feel around you. Sure, you're the top performer in the company. If everyone hates your guts, you're not going to get promoted. You might get an increase in pay, you might get a bigger and better title, but at some point you're gonna hit a wall because people don't want you in a management position. People don't want you in the leadership team because you're just a dickhead, right? So when you're liked and when you have a lot of influence over people, those are the types of people that move up in the world really quickly and exponentially. And those are the people that people generally want to be around, and they're happier, they have a better social circle. And the third thing is atomic habits and making small incremental improvements in your habits. So that's just obvious. If you're constantly making small changes in your software engineering career or any career in general, you'll eventually hit whatever you want to hit, but don't set them as goals. Just identify as, I'm a killer software engineer, I'm a React expert, I'm a Node expert, I'm whatever expert, I'm really good at it and I can get my shit done. Stop worrying about deadlines, stop worrying about goals. Just identify yourself as what you are. Not even want to be. You are a software engineer. You are a senior software engineer. If you have 2 to 3 years of experience and you've built systems from scratch, you are a senior software engineer. If you manage a team, you're a team lead. So why, when people question, I'm not officially a team lead, but I'm managing 3 people, just like, why? Who cares about your official title? How do you feel? Do you feel like you're managing someone? Yes? No? Then okay, don't identify as that. But if you do, then identify as that and then do it as part of your job. Anyways, that's all I want to talk about today. I've probably been rambling for a while. I apologize for that. And yeah, I'm not going to promise to be consistent as well because let's be honest here, I'm not consistent. But I'm going to identify as a YouTuber and I'm going to identify as a consistent person. So I will upload more videos. No goals or deadlines when, because I don't believe in that. But I will upload videos because I'm a YouTuber and I'm consistent. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, then please consider dropping a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.